In the previous lesson, we read about the Vietnamese confronting the French colonials. There were many differing visions among intellectuals, leading to complex debates. In the late 19th century, a Confucian scholar activist, Phan Boi Cho, became a major figure in the anti-colonial resistance from the time he formed the Revolutionary Society. Dai Tan Ho in 1903 with Prince Chongde as the head. Phan's most influential book, The History of the Loss of Vietnam, was written under the strong influence and advice of Chinese reformer Liang Qiuqiu. In this book, Phan laments on the loss of two connected themes, the loss of sovereignty and the severing of ties with China. However, some nationalists like Phan Chu Trinh strongly differed from the Phan Boi Cho. Phan Chu Trinh was profoundly influenced by the democratic ideals of the West, contradictory to the ideals of Phan Boi Cho, and opposed a wholesale rejection of Western civilization. In the first decade of the 20th century, Vietnamese students went to Japan to acquire modern education. The victory of Japan over Russia and developments in China inspired Vietnamese to great extent. Now, these nationalists' primary objective was to overthrow the puppet emperor and re-establish the Nguyen dynasty that has been deposed by the French. Therefore, Vietnamese students organized the Association for the Restoration of Vietnam, Viet Nam Quan Phuc Hoi. The objective was to set up a democratic republic. However, the anti-imperialist movement in Vietnam came under a new type of leadership. The Great Depression of the 1930s had a profound impact on Vietnam. Do you think this depression would have caused some impact? The prices of rubber and rice fell, leading to rising rural debts, unemployment, and rural uprisings, such as in the provinces of Ninh An and Han Tinh. In February 1930, Ho Chi Minh, inspired by the military demonstrations of the European Communist parties, brought competing nationalist groups together to establish the Indo-Chinese Communist Party. In 1940, Japan occupied Vietnam. The League for the Independence of Vietnam, Vietnam Doc Lap Dong Mi, also known as the Viet Minh, and fought the Japanese recapturing Hanoi in September 1945. The Democratic Republic of Vietnam was formed and Ho Chi Minh became chairman. This new republic faced a number of challenges. After 8 years of fight, the French were defeated in 1954, and the Geneva peace negotiation took place, persuading the Vietnamese to accept the division of the country. North and South were split. Ho Chi Minh and the Communists took power in the North, while Bao Dai's regime was put in power in the South. Can you relate the outcome of this division with India-Pakistan division? Similar to India-Pakistan division, this division resulted in a series of events that turned Vietnam into a battlefield, bringing death and destruction to its people as well as the environment. Worried about communists gaining power, US decided to intervene decisively, sending troops and arms. Even though the US had advanced technology and good medical supplies, casualties were high. Also, the US media and films like Green Berets and Apocalypse Now played a major role in both supporting as well as criticizing the war. The US underestimated the power of Vietnam to fight the most technologically advanced country in the world. The story of Ho Chi Minh Trail symbolizes how the Vietnam used their limited resources to their great advantage. The trail, an immense network of footpaths and roads, was used to transport men and materials from the north to the south. The trail had support bases and hospitals along the way. The US regularly bombed this trail trying to disrupt supplies, but efforts to destroy this important supply line by intensive bombing failed because they were rebuilt very quickly. As the nationalist movement grew, the status of women came to be questioned and a new image of womanhood emerged. Rebel women of the past, such as Trung sisters and Trui Ao, who resisted against China rule, were idealized and glorified. In the 1960s, stories were written to show how women fought single-handedly as brave fighters and felt happy when they joined the army. Many women responded and joined the resistance movement and helped in nursing the wounded, constructing underground rooms and tunnels, and fighting the enemy. By the 1970s, the war ended and peace talks began, and women were no longer represented as warriors. Instead, they were shown working in agricultural, cooperative factories, etc. A peace settlement was signed in Paris in January 1974. The NLF occupied the presidential palace in Saigon on 30th April 1975 and unified Vietnam.